Hello everyone and welcome to our webinar. I am so excited today to discuss about branding. I know that a lot of people, customers ask me how to get traffic and sales and they forget about branding. That's why I decided to invite Professor Jonathan Wilson and he will share a lot of insights about branding. How are you, my friend?
Yeah, I'm good. Привет, Attila. You okay?
Yep.
Yes. What can I say? It surprises me that you're telling me that people forget branding.
Oh yeah, a
It's the
lot of
most
times.
important thing.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And everyone wants sales without branding, but customers don't buy from unrecognizable brands. And it's like reading books. A lot of great books that have no names, people don't read them because we have no time to read all books in the world. Yep, of course, people choose recognizable authors. Yep, it's the same with branding. People search for Nike or Adidas and they don't search for sneakers or something like this. Yep.
You're right.
Oh,
I think that you've identified a couple of things there that what a brand is very good at is allowing people to make a quick decision because it's telling you information over time that then means it's speeding up your decision making process, right? So in a wall full of many choices, you're going to go for the one that you recognize, you're familiar with, that you trust. And so branding is about speeding up that process of decision making because humans want to think quicker, right? Humans want to jump to conclusions. So branding can do that. The other thing is that for that privilege of being recognized, whether that's like a flag of a country or a logo on a shirt or something like that, then people will pay a little bit extra because it reassures them it's more trustworthy. So that's the thing about a brand, right? If you have a sweatshirt with a logo on it, you can
oh
charge
yeah.
more money than a sweatshirt with no logo. So you've got
Yeah.
to think. I mean, how much more money did it cost to put this print on this sweatshirt? Not much, right? But how much more can I charge because I have this logo on this sweatshirt? If it's the right logo, a lot more. And I think that's really important. But today you wanted me to talk about branding and people, right? So not just products and services and companies, but how we could apply the same thinking, right?
I think, yep, we can touch this topic and we'll reply to a lot of questions that people might ask in the chat. Please comment on the chat, ask any questions, and we can divide our webinar in two parts. In the first, you can share your report, a lot of insights about branding, and in the second part, we will reply to all questions that people can ask, yep, in the comments. What do you think?
Okay. Should we do it then? Let me share my screen.
Okay.
Okay, I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to share this presentation right here. Let's share it.
Okay, I
You got
did
it?
it. Yep. I can
Okay.
see it.
So, short and sweet, right? I'm going to go through this slideshow and it's going to be about how you can build your brand. That's me, by the way, if you didn't recognize me. And those are my contact details. So hit me up and get in touch. Now, I'm showing you this diagram because I created it when I was taking notes at a conference recently. And it made me think that when we think of the real world and the virtual world, and I've got an image of a tree there, and then the image of Wi-Fi, it's almost like the virtual world is upside down compared to the real world. Many things that we do in the real world we don't necessarily do in the virtual world. And that's for good reason, because humans act in their natural environment in a different way than we do online, right? I'm wearing a loud sweatshirt online because I know that if you want to pay attention, wearing a bit of pink or red or something might make you focus on me a little bit longer than if I was wearing bright colors at work where maybe it's not so appropriate. So I want us to think about fusing the real world and the virtual world and how we can communicate more effectively. And for branding, it's a lot more difficult to communicate online because we're communicating within this small box or this small window and people can swipe and move along in the way that they can't in the real world. So those of you that have studied business, I want you to think about it.
I'm sorry, can I interrupt you? Because
Yeah, do.
yeah, people write that they don't see presentation. I can see mountains, only mountains.
They can't see my presentation.
No, I
Oh,
see only
no.
mountains. Have you started your
Tony, hey,
presentation?
if you can see only mountains, that's a blessing too. What about
Oh,
if, is
oh
that
yeah,
better?
yeah, it's better. Yeah, you can see
Okay,
it.
so I won't do full screen. I'll do it like this. There you go. Now, let me zoom it a little bit, see if it's any better for you. So that's what I was talking about. You can see mountains. Oh, that means you can see my desktop, but you can see my presentation. Here. So this is what I was talking about this whole idea of the tree and the Wi-Fi. And I had those as a representation of what we're dealing with in the real world and the virtual world, right? That one is kind of upside down. Now, for those of you that have studied business, one of the things that I wonder, and it might sound strange coming from me as a business school professor, is that a lot of people come to business school and they learn about facts and theories and they do assignments, and I feel like they're training to become a butler. And by that, what I mean is that they have impeccable manners, they play it safe, and I've called that vanilla, the term where it's fairly, it's safe, but it's never standing out, and people are chasing metrics. But the thing about branding is that if you are only going to use these theories, which is almost like business by numbers, SWOT, PESTLE, and everyone's using the same theories, and everybody's applying the same framework, and you're doing as you're told, and you wear a business suit to look smart like everybody else to be accepted, it doesn't necessarily work in branding. Because if you think about the business school butler, butlers aren't at the center of the party. They have great manners, they're well dressed, they're very smart, they wear colors that don't jump out, but you weren't invited to party. And my goal, therefore, in giving you advice on branding is to get you to be at the center of the party, right? So you want that invite and you want to stand out. So, in my world, brands and the content that you create and the stakeholders and the networking that you do have to surround your audience. And I call that the magic triangle. So that when you have branded content, you have stakeholders who are engaged in that branded content, and you have content which supports the brand, you can surround your audience. Now, moving on, the presentation's sticking, computers today. If you want to build a brand, then there are kind of three stages. You create this identity and this image, and then you have to put it out there in the marketplace so that people can communicate with you and interact. And that's the curation part. And then finally, you become fused with culture and people recognize you and you become a household name, right? So the three stages are to create your brand, its image, identity, its personality. Then it's to curate content and to surround yourself with that content so that your brand is embedded. And then eventually you become recognized as being a regular part of everyday living. Now, another way to look at it is if you want to apply that to an individual, if you're thinking about personal branding, you've got to think about you as the person and you as the brand. You as the brand is the same as if it's you purchasing a branded item of clothing, right? You branded has to be able to command more money, more personality, image, identity, amplified more than if it's just you with not doing any branding at all. So if you want to do personal branding, I think that there are these stages, right? These 5 stages, which pretty much mean that you have to show that you have a competitive edge. You have to find places where you can show your game, right? So you have to be able to show how you can perform. So if you're not on social media, or if you're not at a conference, or if you're not interacting in a debate, or you're not writing articles that are published, it's very difficult to demonstrate that. And then over time, what you're looking to do is to show people that it's clear what you're about. So that if someone says, what does Anatoly do? Then someone will be able to say, oh, he's the guy that does 1, 2, 3, or X, Y, Z. That aspect is really important too. So that when you're not in the room, and when you're not telling people what you're about, they know what you're about. And stage 3, I would say, is that you own your name. your name in that sector, you can see that my Twitter handle, my Instagram handle, even I just set up an account with TikTok, Dr. John Wilson, right? I was able to secure that name, and my website is also drjohnwilson.com. So I'm pretty much claiming that name. And if you didn't know, do a Google. There are so many Dr. John Wilsons, Dr. Jonathan Wilsons, all different spellings. But I thought, well, not many of them seem to have decided to purchase their domain name to claim their name. So that is one of your goals, right? It's that when people talk about John Wilson or whoever else you want to be, Ronaldo, do we mean like Cristiano Ronaldo or the Brazilian Ronaldo, right? Cristiano Ronaldo had to go on a journey so that he became the most recognized Ronaldo out of the Ronaldos. And probably in the beginning, people would have thought that he was crazy or said, you should change your name because there's already a Ronaldo and you're never going to be better than him. So you need to find a way to claim your name so that when you're not in the room or when you're not branding, people are still aware of who you are and what you're about. You take control of your destination, which is taking the reins, so that it's you that's controlling more of your image and your identity and personality. And if you want to be a thought leader, you have to show that you're connected, which means you have to share that intellectual content. And people have to see others responding and interacting with it to verify and validate that you are really a thought leader. And you have to do that again and again. Pretty much that simple, right? Now, another way to look at it is, because I like that way, right? Bass guitars, is they inspire me in many different ways. And one of them was with the arrival of the electric bass, where prior to there being amplifiers that can make guitars and basses sound loud, all the other instruments were a lot louder. Like if you played the trumpet or the trombone or something, you are much louder than a guitar. But now that we have electric guitars and basses, they found a way to compete, right? So my approach then, thinking about bass guitars, is that you have to brand what you do so that you're on the top of people's minds. You have to grab and stop people, and that's the arresting part. If you are not interesting enough, people will just scroll and continue, right? I think also important is sharing your journey, not just the output. So if you have achievements that you want to celebrate or talk about, also talk about how you arrived at that destination. Otherwise, you could be waiting a long time before you're sharing that success story. And I believe that, a bit of humor goes a long way. Why do I say humor? Because making people laugh makes them feel happy and they think fondly about you. If you have a good sense of humor or are good with humor, you can crack a joke, and that might mean that you can get away with saying more. I mean, think of it like this. Stand-up comedians can say offensive things, rude things, and people laugh and they don't get angry. So I spent a lot of time learning from comedians to think, what is it that they can say that I can't say, and how do they say it better? And what you find sometimes is that if you need to apologize, if you've made a mistake, if you've done something wrong with your business, humor can also help. So that's the base part. Having your lane, your direction, is playing this long game. It's going to take you a while to develop this image, identity, personality, style, writing style. So just, plan for the future, right? You need to be loud enough, like I said, with electric bass guitars. I think that you need to have something which challenges how people think, because if you're just agreeing with everybody and saying what everyone else is saying, it's not really going to fit into that unique position of branding. You need to leave people wanting more. And I think that splitting the crowd is quite good as well, because then you get debate, dialogue, and discussion. So, 2020, we've been speaking a lot about diversity and Me Too and Black Lives Matter. But I want you to think, don't get bogged down into being into one camp or one tribe or one echo chamber, because you might miss out on the bigger picture, right? And some of the bigger picture is that change is happening, and being resistant to change isn't just standing still. It's actually mean that you're spending a lot of time trying to stand still. Imagine if you were trying to tread water in a river, right? Standing still is very difficult. Going with the flow is a lot easier. But by going with the flow, you need to take people with you on a journey and enjoy that journey, right? So essentially what I'm saying is, when we think about issues, campaigns, politics, try and get beneath the surface, right? And don't get caught up too much in the obvious things. because there's probably an underlying reason or a bigger problem or a bigger audience that people haven't really tapped into. So you can do that by watching what everyone else does, copying if you want, but, you know, spend some time watching, you know, like, for example, on LinkedIn, it was for quite a while that I just watched what other people did, how they posted. And then it was later that I decided that I could comment on what people were saying. And then after that, I was sharing and experimenting, did humor work on LinkedIn, what sort of pictures were more effective. But that experimentation led me to the position where I developed my own style and literacy. And that helped me be able to commercialize what it is that I do with regards to branding or putting content out there. So if you haven't already, like how I am broadcasting now, I'm at home because we're working from home, because we're locked down, because London's on lockdown. So having a home studio is important, right? If you have the opportunity. And at work, build a pop-up studio too, because live streaming is going to be massive, even more massive than it is now. Broadcasting content, podcasts, vlogs, live streaming, controlling your own media, being your own media producer is really important. So I would say that, you know, building facilities, whether that's the microphone, the camera, the lighting, right, they're all important. And take a little bit of time to study how journalists and documentary makers actually put their content together. And that's something that I did as well. I spoke to some journalists and said, like, you know, how do you film? What's a good way to get good light? And how do you edit? And how does that work? Can only help in this new reality. Moving on. And my last slide, right, is in all of this innovation and change and moving forward, I am always trying to find my sweet spot, which is the art in science and the science in art. If you think about the scientific approach, having data, having facts, having figures, having references, it's really important if you want to establish yourself as a credible brand or a thought leader. But don't neglect the artistic element. Facts don't necessarily elevate what it is that you're saying or elicit emotional responses from people. So think artistically. Like the two diagrams there, we have one which is a robot, Pepper, and the other one which is pretty much like an android that replicates the lady there. Now, I'm guessing, though, that people find the robot cuter than the android, because when I've surveyed people, some people find a robot that looks, an android that looks too similar is a bit creepy, right? So in trying to think about the virtual world, going all the way back to what I was saying in the beginning, it doesn't mean being identical and exactly the same. You have to be careful that you aren't too creepy, right? What works in the real world might not work in the virtual world. And this idea of the Galapagos trap is a term that came out, especially from Japan as well, where people were innovating without wider application. So don't think that innovation is about using all technology for the sake of technology or being different for the sake of being different. If there is no wider application, if there's no meaning behind what you're doing, it's not going to work. Okay, presentation over. Stop sharing screen.
Okay, thanks. Oh, great, thanks a lot. Okay, we can ask a lot of questions, you know, and the first question, if you start from scratch, yep, if you wanna promote your products, you launch some new products, and you wanna create brand awareness, what to do, where to start, where to go, because many people have products but they don't know where to jump. Google, Facebook, LinkedIn, or I don't know, newspaper, TV. What do you suggest here?
Okay, step one, which might sound strange coming from me, try not to spend money. Right? Try not to spend money. Try and think creatively about ways that you can promote what you're doing, spending as little or no money as possible, and exhaust your creative thinking. Yeah, because the last thing that you want to do is spend money and waste money, because I guarantee that in the beginning, when you're trying something, it won't be as good as you think. You might not like it as much as you think you will in a couple of months' time. Most of the time, you become more sophisticated once you get to know something better, right? It's a bit like, you know, when you started buying clothes, if you got into fashion or something like that, maybe the first suit you buy, you think, oh, I just want something that looks like this. I'm going to have pinstripes or something. when actually what you would realize is that a grey suit might be more applicable, 2 buttons, a certain cut. But when you first got into suits, you thought, it's boring. Everyone's got a grey suit. Let me get a loud suit. But it didn't have any wider applicability. So you've got to learn about your own taste and style. So don't spend money up front and experiment and see if you can pull favors, if you can write content on various platforms, and experiment on these various social media accounts and give it enough time. Building a brand takes time.
Yeah, yeah. I know, today people always are looking for solutions, quick solutions, how to build a big brand name for a month or a few months. I think, today it doesn't work. For example, when I started my SEO agency in Russian-speaking countries, in Ukraine and Russia, we spent a few years without any results. We wrote a lot of articles, we published a lot of content, we spent our time to share content for free for many different platforms, on YouTube, on many big publications, and we didn't see any results. Only for a few years we got the first results, and today we have one of the most recognizable agencies in Russian-speaking countries, and we are going to extend to English direction as well. And I think that I love your advice. Don't waste your money. It's better to figure out than hire people, delegate some tasks. Start from social media, from Google, from your blog, choose YouTube channel. It depends on you, where you feel more comfortable, and extend a little bit when you learn from your experience. Yeah, because acting only shows what works. I know that people are searching for simple solutions and secrets. I don't think it exists, because if it exists, everyone will use it. Yeah, it's better to find what works for you. Yeah, great advice.
Yeah, I mean, what you're saying is kind of like if someone said, I want to be a rock star, how could I be a rock star? Okay, so first thing, you need to learn how to play the guitar, right?
Yeah.
How long will it take you to learn how to play the guitar? If you can already play the guitar and you want to be a rock star, then it's going to be quicker to becoming a rock star. But if you can't play the guitar, if you've got a new business and you've never done marketing before, that's why it's going to take a long time. So if you're starting from zero, you buy a guitar. Don't buy an expensive guitar because you don't know what guitar is right for you and the style. Buy a guitar and practice. That's what I'm saying. And then, like in the old days when I was in a band, like, you play in a local bar, pub, somewhere, anywhere, just to a few people. You don't want to make a fool out of yourself. You don't want to get the show in front of 50,000 people and you can't play guitar yet, because you'll never get another show again, right? So there's a reason why the journey is gradual. And, I take a lot of analogies from that. To me, it's like music, being in a band, or it's like sport. If someone says, how could I win an Olympic medal, or how could I, be first choice in this football team? It starts from kind of that selfish private practice where you start to understand what it is that you're doing. Now, you can get help, but obviously if you're a small business owner and you pay for an agency to do it for you, they may not know exactly where you want to go. You might not be able to explain to them clearly enough where you want to go. And it makes sense for you to learn some of those stages. Really, when you want external help, it's when the problem is getting so big that you need professional support and advice. So when you now have 6 figures to spend on marketing, maybe, then call an expert and pay for them, because you don't want to waste your money then. But there's no point in, if you're reducing your costs, like spending money unnecessarily on experts or asking lots of people's opinion, because you're only getting 1 or 2 views. Because that's also the mistake, that when you're a new business, you get 50 views or something, and then you ask this person, that person, your mom, your dad, your auntie, your friend, school buddies, and they all have a different opinion, and you're listening to everybody. That's also a mistake.
Yeah.
If you have the chance to speak to an expert, speak to an expert. But don't take advice from everybody, because the other thing that I've learned is everybody thinks that they're an expert in branding or advertising, or that they can create an advert like that. They're like, oh, I've got an idea, and normally the first idea that comes into your head is the most terrible idea that comes into your head.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crucial to provide some brainstorming. I usually write all my ideas in notes. I always have my phone, write all my ideas, crazy ideas. It doesn't matter. And after this, I think, can I do it or not? Perhaps I can do it for a short period. It's more longer time. Yeah, it's better to divide ideas with periods and never neglect with crazy ideas as well. Even if nobody believes that you can do it, just check out Elon Musk. Yep. By the way, I have another question about Elon Musk. People know Elon Musk and they know Tesla. Yep, they know even SpaceX and many other his companies. Where is better to start to promote your personal brand or business name?
There's no right answer. What feels right to you? Either, your business, then your personal brand, or your personal brand and then your business. I think that you should do some thinking about what you think is going to work better for you. And some of that is down to your own personality, or your own experiences, or the nature of the business. Because, for example, if you are in particular sectors, if you're in professional services and you're a law firm, how can you promote the law firm and not promote the lawyers in the law firm? Because some of your reputation and your ability to charge more money is based upon named individuals in that firm. But if, for example, you are a company that makes beautiful chairs, I don't know if I need to know who makes the chair. Maybe later, but in the beginning, I just want to see the chair. So I think sometimes it depends on the product, it depends on the service, it depends on the size of your business. And actually, if you have got to the stage where you have an interesting enough story to tell.
I agree. I think that there are advantages and disadvantages everywhere. I think that people trust more a human and like Tony Robbins and Gary Vee, many big brands, Cristiano Ronaldo. But it's tough to sell your brand when you have brand awareness, some company. And if you build a lot of products, big team, it's better to jump with business name. I think something like this, it's better to find advantages and jump with one, or even to cover personal and business name. Why not?
And also play to your strengths. For example, if you're very good at writing, then why not put a face and a name to the writing that you do? Or if you're good at communicating, speaking, you have experience in that, then you can build your personal brand a lot quicker. But the last thing you want to do is put yourself forward when you're uncomfortable when it comes to doing interviews or questions.
Yeah. We have the question from Nikolai Shmichkov. Question to Jonathan: is there a good checklist how to name your brand? Oh, it's about naming.
Yeah, that's a good question, right? And we could do a whole session on how to name a brand. But I think, let me give you some examples, and that might make you think. So if you are, for example, you're thinking about a company, do you call the company after you, or come up with a different name? Well, it depends. If you want to sell that company, if you're an entrepreneur and you want to build it and then sell it, it might be a little bit more difficult to sell it on, or you might feel sad when you're selling your name, right? So if that's your intention, then don't call the company after yourself. But if you want to keep it in your family for a long time, then that's a good idea. Other ones are: do you want to have a name which is literal? So the name describes what it is that you do. And even if that's, for example, a tech company, like you want your name to sound technical, like technology. So if you think about Microsoft, people think about microchips and software, right? It sounds technical. And at the time, no one else was called Microsoft, so that's a good name. In direct contrast, you have Apple, nothing to do with technology. And at the time, they had a long legal battle with Apple Core Records, which was owned by the Beatles, and the Beatles were in the music space, and obviously Apple was in the computing space. And you can do a Google and read about the whole Apple wars. But Apple is also an interesting name because it has nothing to do with what they actually are providing, but it's aspirational and shares something else, right? So that the assumption could be that apples are a fruit that are widely recognized and people like. And if you think about some of the symbolism of Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden and apples, and looking at paintings and things like that, then they're drawing from that symbolism. Nike, the goddess of victory, right? Adidas, Adi and Dassler, right? The name of two brothers. So you can join words together. If you join like two words together, it means you're creating something which is less likely to already exist. It's very unusual. Like, Apple got lucky, right? So if you pick one word, we're in a reality now where a lot of one word brand names are owned. Like, you think, oh, let me call it something like tomato, and you'll find that there's a brand that's probably already called tomato, right? So you might get lucky. So you can use the aspirational aspect as well, where you think of the attributes behind your product. So what you often see as well is there's been a fashion where people use like Latin or Greek names, like Nike, goddess of victory, right? Or animals, because they see the lion as being brave, so they want to call it like whatever it is, Lion Consulting, because we're brave consultants, right? But what you could do is think through further brainstorming deeper, which is, okay, but what does a line stand for, or what does a line mean? And there are probably a list of other words surrounding that are the ones that are more interesting, because people probably have thought about those less, and it's easy for you to claim those words, right? So another thing that I could say you want to do is, when it comes to the naming game, and naming to me is very similar to if you have children and they are born and you want to give your child a good name. Why do you give them that name? Why did you choose it? It sounds right. It fits them. It's easy to pronounce. Maybe people aren't going to make fun of them. All of those thoughts that come into your head, right? But one thing that I do with clients when they want to name their company is I make them open a folder on their computer and save images, their favorite movies, sounds, any type of media that they're currently thinking has some kind of link, even a distant link with their company. And then we take a step back and look at those things, the colors, the images, the type of images. Like, if your company had a favorite movie, what would that be? If it had a favorite song, what would that be? And from that process, a name will probably arise.
Yeah. Oh, I was always terrible with naming because I called my first company Izon or something like this. Yeah, Izon. And after this, we changed a few times this name. And yeah, rebranding takes a lot of time to think, to change all links, to change all pictures with your name, and it's better to find companies that provide this service to find name for you. Or for example,
I'm sure I know of one. Where could you find one?
Oh, okay, got it.
Yeah.
Okay, the next time I will go to you directly.
Cool.
Okay, we have the question. Okay, towards sustainability in the environment management space, how can I still develop a personal brand with a chosen niche while ensuring that the relationships with other niches are still intact? I mean, it's like how we can interact with related niches.
So, Innocent, it's straightforward. For a personal brand, it's easier than for a company, because you're a human being. So it's possible to be an interesting human being with a number of interests, right? So what I would say to you is that when you're building your image, your public image, you want people to recognize you for a number of interests. Like, for example, for me, music is an interest, sport is an interest for me, martial arts, food, travel, so that in producing content over time, when people see that I'm constantly producing content, whether that's sport, martial arts, music, talking about culture, talking about travel, food, then they know that I'm the guy that likes sport, martial arts, music, food, travel, culture, those sorts of things, right? So I wouldn't worry about niching yourself. It is possible to have a sustainability aspect to your personal brand and to like other things. The only challenge would be if those things are in direct competition or conflict, because that could hurt your brand, right? So,
Yeah.
if, for example, you feel passionate about a vegan lifestyle, and I go on Instagram and you're eating tomahawk steaks, right? That's not good.
Yeah.
So
Definitely.
be careful. You can respect vegans and say, I love what you're doing for the planet, but I can't help myself. I love tomahawk steaks. You can be an ally, but don't try and be something that you're not.
Okay, I have interesting question about passion. For example, if you need to choose an employer to your company, do you choose expert who are not passionate or beginner who wanna change the world? What will you choose?
It depends. I mean, I think the thing is, one of the most important things is, can you work with that human being? They could be the smartest person in the world, right? But if they're a pain in your backside because they're always in a bad mood, or they don't get on with the rest of your team, or they turn up to work late, or any number of reasons, then that's not good. So I think that it's a number of things. I think that you've got to be clear about the sort of person that would fit in your organization, their identity and their personality, and there's got to be something there that you see value in. So I take your point that actually, and what I've learned from doing some research on professional skills, recent graduates are actually very good at explaining things according to definitions because they've just studied them. Whereas, for example, people with 20, 30 experience know how to do things, but perhaps don't even know how to explain what it is that they're doing, right? So actually, I'm not too worried about people with a small amount of experience or people with a lot of experience. But at the center of it, it's about that person and whether their values align with your values, and there's something there where there's that chemistry that it's going to work.
Okay. The next question: how is the brand value for small business estimated now? It's like
Ooh,
measurement.
that's a nice question. So basically what you're saying is, like, one way to think of it is like an antique. If you were going to sell your brand, how much money do you think you'd get for it? That brand, not the business, not the stock, but that name. And what you find is, for a lot of small businesses, it's not that much money, right? Because if you were saying that you wanted to transfer the name of a big company, you can see where the value is. That's why brand building takes time. But what you can look for then are incremental differences where, in comparison to unbranded offerings, generic offerings, or your competitors, what is the premium that you command in the marketplace according to your products and other touch points or other points that you can trace, and then you could develop your own methodology by how you do that. Then the thing that you'd want to do then is, if you develop your own methodology, you need to track that over time to see where it goes, whether there's growth or decline.
In SEO field, we usually measure with Google Keyword Planner or a lot of other tools where you can check out the volume. And yeah, if you see that people are searching for your brand many times, and yeah, this kind of measurement.
Yeah.
Um,
But I mean, like, take for example that you're not necessarily in the internet much, but you could be a restaurant. Now the question is, like, and let's say you're both selling the same thing. This restaurant sells kebabs. That restaurant sells kebabs. They're both the same. How much more can you charge for your kebabs? Or
oh,
if you open another restaurant and call it the same name as the restaurant that people know of there, how many people do you drag to this new restaurant, which is not just according to convenience or location, but it's according to the fact that you've developed a reputation because they recognize. So, I mean, sometimes it's good in the real world to actually just practice those practical examples and to think about some local businesses and how you perceive them and how you would rate and rank them.
okay, let's start with creating content. You told that you create a lot of content in conference, in social media, even TikTok. You know, it's interesting platform because my wife posted a video that got over 200,000 views, and she has only 200 followers, something like this. I don't think that it's possible to get this engagement on in any other platforms. And how to choose where to start creating content, or what type of content to create, for example, text-based, video content, audio content.
Experiment and think, what content do you feel comfortable creating and you would enjoy doing again and again. There's nothing worse than somebody who wants to build a personal brand and then they go crazy for a month and they're producing lots of content, and then afterwards they're tired or they're bored, or they paid for a video crew and they can't pay for a video crew next month, and they didn't get as many followers as they thought. So if you're in it for the long game, think, pace yourself, take time. If you are going to be a thought leader on a particular professional service, what would that look like? If you are an accounting firm, if you are a restaurant, what stories could you talk about, write about, share over 6 months? Like, write a features list, just like a magazine would, and see if you can follow that list. And then probably towards the end, you might be thinking, oh, you've run out of things to say. Well, then, how do you develop a system where you don't run out of things to say, where you can become inspired to create new content? That's also important.
And I often see that focusing is the best thing when you create content, because when someone tries to cover all platforms with limited resources, to write blog posts, a lot of blog posts, and even some of my clients ask me how many articles I need to post each month. We don't have this answer. It depends on you. If you can create high quality, valuable content, and a lot of articles, do it. If you can't, just measure your ratings for your articles. I don't know, because we have different measurement. For example, if I feel that I can't create something better, yep, I will go to another article. It's totally the same with video content. When I try to cover Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, I got around 10 followers a day, less engagement, and I decided to focus my attention with LinkedIn. And yeah, it works because I skip trying to cover everything. Focusing is the best thing when you create content. And about suitable format, yep, I love it. For example, I decided to jump with video content as well, and when I started to film first videos, I don't know, I scared the camera. I felt that it's better to break my leg, and even I hired two specialists to just to be with me and tell me what I need to do, because when I saw the camera, I I felt that it's better to go away, to forget about this direction. But consistency helps to improve confidence when you film your videos. Just take your phone, film every day. If you are not confident but wanna do it, just do it every day, and you will get this confidence. I think it's something similar with conferences, because I didn't do it, but I know that you have a huge experience with conferences, over hundreds conferences, and yep, I think that when you take part a lot of times, you can feel the audience, you can share the information that audience wanna consume. Yep. What do you think?
Yeah, I think you're right. The key to conferences, which is the same, I think, with content, is you get better at conferences if you stay within your subject area. Where it's going to become difficult is if you speak about anything and everything, because each time you are having to learn a new subject, then it takes you back to the beginning again, because you're not an expert. So the key is, if you want to build expertise, then stick in a particular area or several areas that you can spend time on, so that when people ask questions, the questions are less surprising because you've heard them before. One of the mistakes that people make is they think, oh, this topic is trending, I'm going to talk about this topic, and I'm gonna offer my expert advice. But you're not an expert in that area. So when somebody asks you a question, you go like, I don't know, right? So you need to be careful about what you set out to do. But yeah, you're right. If you can stay within your lane and you can do that time and time again, then hopefully you should get better. And then when, talking to 100 people gets boring, talk to 1,000 people. When 1,000 people gets boring, talk to 5,000 and see if that makes your heart beat faster. But it's about that journey, really. And of course, even when you get to those stages, there are always going to be times when, you might not feel as comfortable, because the thing is, business and life can distract you. So how do you feel when you have to go to a conference and you're in a different time zone, 8 hours away, you have jet lag, and you ate something that means that you need to go to the toilet, but you can't, because people are waiting for you to speak, and you can't miss this opportunity because you spent all of these hours and days traveling to this place, and they're filming, and if you make a fool of yourself, they'll never invite you again. You'd have wasted your time, and you'll feel terrible, all because of some food that you ate the night before, and you wish that you went to sleep. Unless you learn how to become strong in that way. So don't underestimate the power of these other things that you need to take into account, right? Which is why I'm saying it's easier if you enjoy what you do. And you do things, therefore, your subject area, your business, you practice where there's no risk, and you're not putting yourself under unnecessary stress.
Yeah, I think if you don't love what you do, it's better to leave your job, and you will never regret about this.
I don't know.
Yeah,
No, don't leave your job unless you've got some other money coming in, right? I
yeah.
don't want people messaging us saying, hey, I left my job and I couldn't pay my bills, I couldn't pay my rent, and, my husband left me, and you've got to think strategically. Whatever you do, certain decisions are easier if you have particular skills, if you have a particular network, if you are not in debt, right, and you have money and savings, then you can take many more risks. But it's hard for people. If you are in debt and you don't have savings, and you're trying to set up a new business, and you have family pressures, you have to look after family who are ill and all of these things, it's incredibly hard.
Yeah, agree.
And it's not branding that's going to make it that much easier, because it's actually, you need to sort out some of these things going on in your life to give you space to make branding make it easier.
I read interesting point yesterday in one book, and the point is, you don't need to sell products. You need to sell connections, and sell future relationship in something like this. What do you think about this point? Because I know that many companies think, oh, I need to sell to provide short results, but it doesn't work in the long run, and your competitors might outcompete you. Yeah, what do you think to sell connections and relationships?
Listen, if you can find somebody or anybody that's willing to give you money for what you have, that's good. Whether that's ideas, products, services, your time. I mean, think about it like this. Imagine there's probably some kid out there, some young kid, who their friends say, come out with us. And he goes, no, I can't. He says, oh, if you give me $20, I'll come out with you. Okay, cool. Right. That's called a business person. Probably a bad friend, right? Probably not someone I want to hang around with, but it demonstrates a knowledge about how to pitch for business and to get money. Like, business is about making money at the end of the day. If you can't bring money in, then you don't have a business.
Okay, what about competing with big brands? For example, you start from scratch, you are a small brand, and you should compete with some popular brands, I don't know, like Amazon or Toyota or something similar. How to compete with big and popular brands if you have no authority, trust, experience, but you wanna jump in this niche?
You have to be tactical and entrepreneurial, because the reality is they have more money and reputation than you. You can't compete with them in the same way. It's like if there's a small football team playing a huge football team, one day they might beat them, but not every time. But they might have one day or one lucky day, just like business. But you can't build a business on just that one time or that one lucky day. So you have to think that sometimes you can directly compete, but other times you're looking for opportunities where it's a better use of your time. And it could be a small niche or a particular aspect. It's a particular audience that you feel that you could encourage to come to your company or product or service, as opposed to that bigger company.
You know, in SEO field, we usually search for topics that have a lack of quality content, because popular websites, for example, Amazon, yep, you can find them in the first top 10 positions. All the time they have the first position, Wikipedia and many other websites, Best Buy, but popular brands don't cover everything. Yep, they cover a lot, but it's better to find topics that they usually ignore. For example, if we are talking about blogging, a lot of topics, new keywords, 15% of new keywords appeal every single day. A lot of topics with outdated information, with a lack of quality content. And if you start from scratch, you don't need to compete with Amazon. It's better to find topics that they ignore. For example, Elon Musk, yep, he launched an electric car, and all popular brands ignore this topic, and today Tesla is the biggest company in the world, yep, with car productions. That's why I advise to search for topics that your competitors ignore, and a lot of topics. If you create the right strategy, you can outrank them. And sometimes you can't sell with these topics, but it creates brand awareness. That's okay, perfectly fine. Don't think about short sales. You can jump in the long run. It takes years to build your brand, but if you have a lot of traffic and share value as maximum as possible, yeah, why not? Okay, let's talk about value. How to share value with your audience, because you know, I can explain one more time. I often see when people try to sell on social media, on LinkedIn, on Facebook, and nobody engages their content. And I think that the audience wanna get value first. How to find and figure out what your audience wants and how to share this.
Learn to understand people better and to serve them and satisfy their needs. A better order is to help people before you help yourself. The way to help yourself is to help other people. That can be a technique, because sometimes people, they're not necessarily going to make the jump towards kind of, your hard sell or evangelism. So the way around that is help people. Don't sell them anything straight away. But that doesn't necessarily mean, right? The only thing I'd say is that just giving people something doesn't necessarily then translate into sales or business, because the mistake that people can make is, hey, let me give you my services for free, and then if you like them, then you can hire me later. No, I'll just take your services for free, and then when they're done, they're done. I'll go to, so that's also a mistake that people can make, which is that they think that value means giving people something for free, and who doesn't like free stuff, right? So you have to understand people and your role within their kind of needs and wants.
How to understand people, how to learn their minds and understand what they want to get.
Love people. Learn to love people. Watch television, watch programs, read books, hang out in shopping malls. Ask somebody, ask them, think like a child. Like when a child goes, why do you always order from that shop? Like, if I'm ordering a takeaway, why do you always go there? Why do you use this app? Just sometimes the most simple questions can give you so much insight if you just bother to listen to what people say.
Yeah. You can spend time on social media to ask people, and even go to your existing customers, talk to them, ask what they want to get. Big companies never neglect to talk with their customers, even if they have a lot of other data, insights, and why not? You can spend time. Even big CEOs go to customers and spend a day with them, to analyze what they want to get.
If people like you, then they will tell you. If they don't like you, they might not tell you. So that's why it's also important to build your brand so that people like you, right? Because I know that I can ask certain people questions because they know, if you're interesting or you're a good company, they don't mind answering your questions. But if people don't like you, they just go, shut up, or they ignore you. So another person could go and say, hey, why do you always go to that takeaway? What's it got to do with you? It's none of your business. And to me, that's the same as some online marketing research when they say, how often do you go and have a takeaway? What's that got to do with you, man? Why do you want to know? What are you going to do with this information? Why should I tell you? Why should I help you find out yourself, man? So if they like you, they don't mind. They'll tell you whatever you want to hear.
Let's imagine they don't like you. I don't know what to do. For example, if you are trying to speak with people and they don't like, and where to
hire
go,
an agency. Get someone who is likable. That's one of the reasons why some companies might hire market research agencies to find these things out.
Okay, we have a few questions before we finish. Which B2C business niches need a personal brand?
Did we talk about that?
Yeah,
okay,
I think.
Which business? All of them.
No.
All of them, because the thing is, if you're B2C, right? Let's go through
B2C, yeah.
Business to business is very much client focused. If you want to develop a reputation in that marketplace or industry, personal brands can help. And I mentioned things like, professional services firms. B2C, if you think about some of the biggest global brands like Heinz that made baked beans or tomato ketchup, they had a heritage behind them which tells you about the family. Or you mention Elon Musk, or do you want to mention Richard Branson, or do you want to mention like Steve Jobs, or do you want to mention Bill Gates? I think humans have always been fascinated with the story behind what is in the public domain, whether that's a movie or a soap opera or a company. Once you are in that realm where your company is interesting, people want to know, okay, so who owns you? Are you like a Russian company? Are you Ukrainian? Are you French? When did you start? Like, who works there? You know, that's the type of engagement which you could capitalize on. But that curiosity might be because people really like you or they really don't like you. Right? You don't know. But then even if people don't like you, then you might be able to convert them.
I think that if people don't like you, it's better to find another people. If
Yeah, but the thing
if,
is that sometimes you can't control. Like, if people want to find out about you, you're not in control, and you're not in control of social media. Like, they could make comments about you, right? And it's outside of, which is why it's also worth trying to find a way to kind of gather intelligence and information, but find a way to make people happy.
Yep. But sometimes we can't make happy everyone. Yep, big brands.
True.
Yeah, don't try to cover everyone. For example, Apple has their audience, Samsung has their audience. That's okay, perfectly fine. Choose your audience and don't try to satisfy everyone. And the biggest issue I see that when brands try to sell someone who told you no, I don't want to buy your products. Don't waste time with this customer. Go ahead and find another one. Yep, I think it's better to find people who like you. And about haters, if they wanna hate content, please do it. Hate, put dislikes. Because it helps to create brand awareness as well. Yep. For when I started my Russian YouTube channel, I don't remember. A lot of haters jumped to this channel and tried to destroy it in the beginning, and they helped me to grow, to grow my audience. And today, when I have some authority, I think that people think twice to write this comment or not, but that's okay. I think that you don't need to worry and never listen to others. You can learn from them. For example, if you get negative feedback, learn how you can improve it, to develop, innovate, because all products have some bugs, and when your competitors launch something better, even great products become obsolete one day. Yep, that's okay, just develop it.
True.
And the last question, how about a focus group of friends? Does it work? From Maxim.
Depends how cool your friends are.
Yeah.
Depends if they're the right, if they are the right target audience. It may and it may not.
Yeah, I think it depends, you can take part in many groups and decide, do you have your audience or not. Okay, please tell me and our audience where people can find you, reach out to you, or order your service, because I will put all the links in the description below. You can learn it and tell you how is better to reach out to you.
Whichever way they want to, right? LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, my website, drjohnwilson.com. Just find me.
Cool. Okay. Thanks a lot of insights. I've learned myself how I can improve my brand, and you can check out for a few months I'm growing or not, and to analyze how this knowledge helps. And I wanna tell for all watchers, just act. You can learn a lot from webinars, from blog posts, but if you don't act, you can't get results. Get failing, that's okay, perfectly fine. Learn from your failures and go ahead, because acting is the best approach. We just share knowledge, and you should think how you can adapt to your preferences. Okay, guys, thanks for watching our webinar. Thanks a lot to our dear guest, and see you next time.